This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
Welcome all. Once again, we're doing a more nuanced yet very organized themed week. And as always, we got to pick an explosive theme, just one that would make you go, yeah, how are you going to stretch that out to, 5 days out of an entire week? And it's like, yeah, it's got to be a topic that we could talk for hours about, and you would want to listen to for hours on end. It's got to be something that is just so catching that just makes you go, yeah, that is awesome. Oh, yeah. I would love to hear someone's take on that. And so, lo and behold, here you got Jack Bauer themed week. That's right. We've been overdue to talk more about the beloved 24 TV show franchise, and it only gets better with age. Put on any season, even the weakest one, you're going to be blown away by it and be like, this is dynamite. So, again, throughout the rest of the week, we're going to be talking about our favorite moments, ranking the seasons, and the best characters. But I just figured I would give my 2 cents on, I've seen many lists on the web. I'm going to give you the definitive episodes you should watch. And don't worry, I'm not an overblown geek. I am going to actually give you the episode number, because everyone's bad with math, and it would just be confusing if I told you the 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., or this season. No, I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to give you the episode number from the season, and we're just going to go there. And I'm going to give you highlights, brief ones, mind you, on why those episodes rock, why those moments are going to stick in your head. There's going to be plenty of them that have made the best episode list, but there's going to be a few others where it's like, yeah, there was an awesome fight scene. There was an explosive plot twist. There was a great presidential speech. And so it's no secret. It's a dynamite show. Many writers from Miami Vice, The Equalizer, and X-Files, and Buffy worked on this franchise. There were many great actors who you've seen on everything, NCIS, Star Trek. And again, it was like taking a Brian De Palma suspenseful movie and mixing it in with everything from something like Dirty Harry type grit to something just explosive thrills that you would expect in a Die Hard or Rambo type movie, and having all these wonderful James Bond villains, and just something much like The West Wing, where it'd be apolitical, but bring all kinds of discussion points mixed in with just all kinds of other great talking points. So anyway, the episodes that are just speak to me, that I would throw on, I would totally show them in a film studies class, and they would get your attention regardless of if you have or hadn't seen an episode. I'm still basing it on how strong the episodes, how contained they are. Because yes, you got to watch every season to get all the nuts and bolts, all the meat and potatoes. But I'm going towards what makes these episodes just stand out. Like, if you were to even just randomly come across them on a cable channel showing it, unlikely since it hasn't been syndicated for years. But if it was, you would be like, whoa, this is great. I've never seen this. I need to see this show now. I need to sit down and watch the whole thing now. That's what I'm going for with these episodes. So bit by bit, a bunch of great ones from the first 9 seasons. So, and if these aren't to your liking, just like, subscribe, and leave an Apple review. Maybe a Spotify review. That'd be great too. But let us know if we've done our job by the time this episode concludes. But I better get with it because we're running out of time. So, first episode. It's going to be from season 1, episode 12. By this point, this is half the season. This was initially supposed to be the last episode, should it not get renewed. Can you imagine it ending on a plot point? It would have been half rewarding, but it would have still been like, yeah, but there's more mayhem going on. He saved his family, but you know, the main guy he took on, Ira Gaines, is not the main bad guy. So this is great because even though it technically concludes in the 13th episode, like Stephen Hopkins' direction is wonderful. Howard Gordon is very taut with the suspense and character development. Much like many of these other edgy shows, like this sees the main CTU guys, Nina and Tony, getting interrogated by headquarters because they don't understand how Jack Bauer could have gone rogue. He's a wanted fugitive. He comes in, he rolls into the camp after using one of the main big bads to get in, and it's just nonstop suspense. Like, we are finally getting some action after back and forth, confusion, and mystery. We're now getting what we are owed. We are seeing Jack do his sneaking around. He is about ready to kill one of the kidnappers before his annoying daughter Kim actually tells him, hey, no, he's actually helping us try to escape. We're just sneaking around. So he sneaks in, and lo and behold, like, the last 10 minutes are going to be what you remember the most. You're going to finally see all the car explosions and Jack going akimbo and taking out a machine gun. But the supporting stuff is also neat. Like, uh, presidential candidate David Palmer is learning, whoa, okay, I don't necessarily have all the best backers for my campaign. I need to get more involved in my campaign. And yeah, it's just the B subplots are also good, but the main plot line we've been trying to resolve, like, it's not fully resolved, but we get at least a quarter of the stuff that has gone down in this season finally resolved, and it's explosive and wonderful. Next up, I'm going with the finale. That's right. Season 1, episode 24 of 24. Here, all the plot twists, just no holds barred. Jack is going after the evil Drazen family, played to perfection by Dennis Hopper and Zelchko Ivanek. He gets even, realizes his daughter's already escaped. The lo and behold, shocking finale that defines the whole season. And even the build up before that is good. Just everything from the cinematography, editing, Foley, music score, everything. It is one big tragic ending. You are thrilled 1 minute, then crying your eyes out the next. Don't lie, guys. You're gonna also cry your eyes out on this. It's sad. Once you've seen it, you're still gonna see it again because you want the resolution from all the other mayhem. You want Jack getting even with the bad guy. And yeah, it just the music also just allows you to just kind of rein in and just re-examine all the other great details that how the show just had so much momentum and kept going. Now we're gonna go to season 2, episode 4. Oh man. So Jack Bauer gets rid of his undercover routine after CTU has been bombed, and President Palmer fires his main guy who's been overseeing basically some of the Homeland Security guy material, and realizes this guy has not been honest with them. The character's Ray Byrne, and the actor from stuff like Ghostbusters and Witness. And yeah, also, uh, even though just everything is out of control, and there's a lot of half wins and mostly unsuccessful stuff. Like that, this show is just showing, hey, we're not playing around. Stuff, everything's going to hit the fan. Again, some of the other supporting stuff is good. Kim Bauer getting away from an abusive family friend. The chief of staff, Lynn Kresk, trying to warn the president, being blocked. All the Michelle and Tony investigation stuff, and Jack struggling to remain sane, as well as the other stuff that's been building up. It's all good. And yeah, there's some other stuff that it's just nonstop. Just who's in charge of this? Go run over here. Who's in charge of that? Go over here. Good stuff. Then we get to season 2, episode 15. Oh man, we got to go after a bomb threat at the airport. We're getting in cars, we're driving around. Jack and Kim finally get in touch, and uh, Kate, our main heroine, is just finding out, her sister's a terrorist. We got to get rid of a bomb, and we got to fly it out of the city. And as cliche as some of it is, again, like they make the cliches real. The actors are grounded. It's just good stuff. And the direction is wonderful. They do a good job of making you feel like you're actually in the plane with Jack. And, after another, they've done such a good job of uh just making it just that we got everything we could possibly end up losing. And, they do a good job of also just reminding you of the bigger picture, what's the main threat, and all these other things just roll to the side so we can breathe while we focus on the main deal here. So good stuff. Now on to season 2, episode 21. So again, this is good. We got to save Kate from her attackers. Jack tries to meet up with a hacker guy who's behind the whole computer chip that was almost going to start World War III by being used by the cabinet members as, it was going to be misinterpreted by them. So they would be like, okay, we got to go to war. And it was so ballsy. We were just already in the thick of going to war in Iraq. And, this was basically a good just mirroring of the current stuff happening in the White House at the time, where it's like, yeah, you don't go to war unless you can verify the source. And in this case, the presidential cabinet has invoked the 25th Amendment to remove President Palmer. So we are just like, we were watching, and just does a good job of just like, as the staging, the camera shots, just like just going back and forth, seeing everybody stand up along with the vice president as they're voting. And even though you absolutely disagree, just like you cannot take your eyes off the screen. Everything is hitting the fan. And Jack gets a hold of the chip, but realizes he might not find every answer he can use to prove it's false. Then he follows up with next lead, and there's some other shootouts and another unusual ally who reveals some of the other foul play by other bad guys killing other bad guys. It's just all kinds of stuff. And yeah, just excellent. But it's also wild seeing some of the then unknown actors being some of the thugs who were trying to steal from Kate. And one of them is the then unknown Nick Offerman before he was Ron Swanson on Parks and Rec. So, and one of the other guys was later on Breaking Bad. He's a good actor. And the main deal is when Ryan Chappelle, the main district manager guy who's now in charge, is like telling Tony, he orders him, "You will not help Jack. I will not fire you, though, because there's no one else qualified." So he's giving him a half award. And so then, yeah, it's just, man, it's just back and forth, back and forth. Intense conversations like the show is so good at doing. Now on to the season 2 finale, season 2, episode 24. That's right. Tony and Michelle get arrested after they've knocked Ryan Chappelle unconscious, just so they can, you know, do what they need to do to assist Jack and get the president the right information. David Palmer returns to his office and basically scolds his whole cabinet. Is like, you can choose to remain part of this administration. I will not take it personal. You went with your gut. You were wrong, but I will welcome you back. And of course, some of them just stand down. They're such chicken shits. They cannot talk to him and be like, yeah, we were flat out wrong. We cannot, we're just cowards. Once we vote a certain way, we just cannot reconcile or even tell someone or even issue an apology. We look weak. We gotta just move on. So it's just perfect mix of workplace drama. We finally get Jack doing what he does best, snapping necks, sniping the henchman while he uses the president's ex-wife, Sherry. He has her mic'd up so they can get all the confirmation of what all the terrorists were basically tricking her and the hackers during this whole blackmail scam that ended up being a going to war just so the oil tycoons could profit off of it. So good at wrapping up all this convoluted stuff. And unfortunately, we then get that chucking in. Is like, oh no, Mandy, the assassin just came up and just tried attacking the president. Oh, damn it. So, slam bang, we resolved this, we resolved that. Jack is barely breathing. He's almost had a heart attack. He is just has to pull it together. And we go on to season 3, episode 5. Man. So Jack is still going back undercover. He stresses to the main drug kingpin, Raymond Salazar, who he put away months ago. Is like, no, I want to get even. I've been cheated of what I am worth. It's like, I was a narc, but I'm not a honest narc. I want in. And so he finally convinces Raymond, dude, I'm dirty, just like you. And we go to town. This is where he totally does his usual blurring the line between hero and anti-hero. He starts a prison riot. Unfortunately, there are casualties, and then him and Raymond are captured the last episode. But in this episode, we get that resolution where the prisoners want to make examples of everybody they've captured. Them, the prison guards, everybody. They've captured other prisoner inmates, and they basically go all deer hunter. They force them to play Russian roulette, and that's why this episode alone is fucking worth the price of admission. But there's more. All the actors and writing is just phenomenal. President Palmer begins his debate with Republican opponent Senator Keeler, and this impacts him because he's getting news live and he's having to figure out if he needs to. He's still going to be in the race, but he has to figure out if he wants to continue the debate. And either way, this is going to be interesting because, again, director John Cassar and the producers do a good job of making those tracking shots count for something. They make you feel like you're watching this on your home TV screen, like all the different reporters and people in the audience just seeing the TV feed that they're getting. And then it's so cool. They then cut to one of the TV screens is showing this in the prison. And then, we see glass snap against that prison TV screen just to remind us, hey, while that's going on, we're still back here in the prison, looking for everybody to get away. And then the the C plot, technically. The supporting stuff, Chloe discovers evidence that Jack has been addicted to heroin during his previous undercover routine, and that's all fascinating because we the audience have known, but now our heroes are playing catch up, and yeah, and it's just so neat seeing just the resolution, and the previously on segment is good at catching us up too. So good stuff. Great stunts, great editing. The helicopter escape alone is good. Just seeing him get in that copter, Chase tries to stop him. And given how they filmed this, it was so urgent too, because they were almost running out of daylight and time to shoot. with the permit. So the urgency is felt on film very much so. So, yeah, good stuff. And let's go to season 3, episode 17. Yep. Jack Bauer finds more dirt on the perpetrator, all while who's going to release a virus. And of course, Michelle Dessler gets to go into action. She's got to uh, talk to the other agent who got infected and is dying, Gael Ortega. The prisoners are showing symptoms, and she's got to stop a riot before it happens. And Jack finds out, whoa, I know this guy. I know who's behind this. He used to be in my Delta Force days. He's Stephen Saunders. And President Palmer, unfortunately, has to give in to 2 different demands from this assailant. And then Jack and Chase get to encounter trouble once they go to a lead. And they meet up with some British intelligence guys who are in downtown LA. And this is where it goes back into what I love, when it goes into 48 hours Die Hard mode, where Jack and Chase are having to run away from a helicopter gunner sent by the bad guys. And it's before we get to all the other good stuff. Then let's just jump into the season 3 finale. Again, they're always good with the premieres, but they're even better with the finales because, man, they wrap up so much stuff. It's like Saunders, the main bad guy, is in custody, but we got to stop his other assailant who's going to detonate this regardless of whether he gets paid, and he's going to do it at a school. And Tony is basically being persecuted by other bureaucrats and government guys who feel like he committed treason against CTU. They're like, no, this is not good. You flat out disobeyed orders trying to save your wife. We're bringing up on treason charges. And President Palmer is just emotionally broken because, lo and behold, his ex-wife, Sherry Palmer, gets involved in a scandal and gets killed. And he indirectly was part of all this, and he has decided, I'm going to have to drop out of the race again. And so much to wrap up. Great car chase. Great race against time. The last time we see Chase Edmonds on screen, and Jack's got to do the infamous chop off his hand just so he can detach him from the bomb, just so he can get the bomb to a safe location in time, inside a fridge so it won't unleash all the toxins and other virus elements. So, man, just leaves my jaw on the floor every time I rewatch this episode. It is just phenomenal. Now let's go to season 4, episode 6. This, don't get me wrong, this season's phenomenal. Never a dull episode, never a filler episode. But like the 6th episode is great because after those first 5 episodes of just non-stop back and forth, brooding terrorist drama, we are finally getting another piece of the puzzle as to the main bad guy who kidnapped Jack's girlfriend Audrey and his boss, Secretary of State James Heller. James Heller has already tried to escape a few different times. He's basically the John McCain of the show, where he's a former military veteran turned politician. And Jack gets to finally, I just love it. He goes in for just so many just silent attacks. He goes in with his silenced pistol, takes out some guys, and then breaks a few necks silently. But then he finally goes down the hallway, makes eye contact with James Heller, and he uses the military lingo that both of them recognize as like, I need you on the count of 5, to just drop back on your seat, even if it breaks your back. We gotta, the terrorists are going to execute you live on TV after you read all this stuff, but just pretend to go along with it and then, back up so I can then snipe the guy behind you, forcing you to do all this. And it is just, again, seeing the behind the scenes of this on the DVD is even better. But man, we get so much stuff wrapped up. A bunch of military special forces guys are sent in, and they were played by actual guys. But man, seeing the helicopters come in and just mow down all the guys on the bunker the terrorists are at, it's phenomenal. And then that's just literally the first 20 minutes. And then after that, it's just, even though everybody's healing, licking their wounds, and it's going back in the soap opera bill. It's still phenomenal. We got to figure out, hey, there's still another mole at CTU, and what was in that briefcase that was stolen, and just good stuff, good stuff. But Dynamite, like, if I was to show you any episode, I'd be like, this is 24 at its best. And let's go to season 4, episode 11. So this is where they do a good job, even though we're going to the in between guys and the other crooked guys working with the main bad guy. They're just as interesting as all the exposition dumps. Everything runs at a heartbreak pace. And so at this point, we're seeing uh, uh, Curtis Manning get some action. He's being tortured by one of the bad guys. He gets to, again, do his own awesome escape, meets up with Jack. They're going for the building, finding out where Marwan, the main bad guy, is. And it's so awesome how they all just come into contact. It's like, that guy, go! Just a lot of great, just going up the elevator, trying to be subtle, trying to stop the guys without making a scene in this other corporate building. And that's what's just great, too, is like all these terrorists are basically, you would never know they're bad guys. That just, they are sinking in, working at all these other private computer and business and banking type companies. And it's just stealthy and it's great. And we find out, here's where all the money's coming in to fund all this terror stuff. Here's the shareholders. Plenty for CDU to do as well. It's not just all the action in the field, but yeah, great stuff. And we get to season 4, episode 20. And this is where the shit hits the fan. Excellent writing by Peter Linkov, great direction by Brian Spicer. And basically, David Palmer and his Secret Service detail come back to the White House to offer advice, which is later ignored. And he sets up an unofficial extraction mission to be authorized. It's like, let's get this Chinese ambassador out of the Chinese embassy in LA. Let's get this other guy out of here who's part of the coup. The terrorists is working with the terrorists. And of course, the mission goes to shit. One of the guys is seen on the camera. He's later captured and gives up Jack. But at this point, we don't know. It's just great just seeing the mission all be set up and then go wrong, despite Curtis and Jack, keeping their masks on. The other guy is not so lucky. He's the Leroy Jenkins of the team and sells out Jack. But just the whole infiltration of the Chinese embassy, it's like very much like a Metal Gear Solid or Splinter Cell video game mission. It's like, you cannot alert anybody. You got to be silent. We cannot have any casualties until there is one. And in this case, the embassy guards accidentally committed friendly fire and shot the guy who was trying to stop it. So even bigger blood on their hands. So yeah, it is so wild. And also, to add insult to injury, Audrey's struggling with her estranged husband. Paul's suffering. And of course, more controversial shit happens in this episode. I will leave it to you to watch. You will hate Jack one minute and then understand he didn't intend for that. It's back and forth. At least he's an anti-hero and not a deliberate villain protagonist like Tony Soprano or Vic Mackey from The Shield or Walter White from Breaking Bad. Now let's go to the season 4 finale. Jack Bauer has to fake his death after a crooked Secret Service agent sent by the later found out to be crooked President Logan. He just is like, I do not want to have an international conspiracy. I do not want our spy to be sold out and captured by the government. The Chinese want him. They're not giving him up. So I'm going to just send someone to silence Jack. It all fails. But all before that, we're having to wrap up everything. We're having to have Curtis and Jack save Tony from Mandy, a returning assassin from the first 2 seasons. She captured Jack. And after, Michelle's a nervous wreck, Bill's just shaking his head because this day's getting out of control. And at the same time, they're having to have a brutal fight with Marwan and his men as they're trying to stop the nuclear bomb from reaching its target. All nonstop suspense. And then we're having that, Jack go on the run after faking his death. It's like, what a damn way to end the season. I am feeling so excited and then depressed. What a way to end. Now let's jump to season 5, episode 15. And it's just everything. Jack was forced to interrogate his girlfriend, Audrey, last time. You hated him for that. Wayne Palmer asked Aaron Pierce to help tell him something his brother found before he was killed. Wayne's car was attacked by a van and made a run for it. Uh, all kinds of other stuff happened previously. And then now they're basically, they got to take down this other place that the terrorists are meeting by Bierko, played wonderfully by Julian Sands. And of course, like, uh, basically everybody remembers all the action and nonstop suspense and infiltration of a gas company, and they're trying to stop the Syntox nerve gas from going off into LA that could kill hundreds of thousands of Americans. And so it's so cool to just go 1 minute is like failed interrogation, revealing a lot about not only who the real culprit is, but also whether Jack Bauer could have gone too far. And he's like, I literally, the spy convinced me. I thought you were the mole. I would never think you were the mole, but that's how convincing this asshole, female terrorist was. And so no time for apologies. Secret Service agent Pierce saves Wayne Palmer. And of course, Wayne used to be in the military, so he gets to carry a gun for once. And then see, but pretty much this is immortalized. Everyone remembers this for those last, few minutes where Jack, after he's shot up the place, he's got to plant a bomb and he escapes that gas company factory while an explosion's going off behind him. And then he knocks out Bierko, literally knocks him out, jumps in a car just so before the explosion hits outside and knocks them all out. And it's like, man, what a way to end that damn episode. That's good, good, good editing. Now let's jump ahead to season 5, episode 24. Again, the finales kick serious ass. Jack's already dressed up as one of the White House helicopter pilots. He knocks out one guy, puts a gun to the other guy, and he's like, you were going to fly the president to his so-called, not the retreat that he wants. I'm going to take him. I'm going to knock you out and then make the president confess. It was like, and first they don't get the exact recording, but then there's another thing that pops up. And again, we are thinking, oh, Jack's toast, because even though this president's crooked, it's still a total felony to just kidnap the president and hold him at gunpoint. And man, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat, and like any good episode, but this one especially. And just it definitely brings up Richard Nixon levels, where it's like once they get that recording, it's just so wild how they play it. And as they're disputing with all the Department of Justice guys, they're like, whoa, 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 stop that, replay that tape. Is that the president admitting to a felony? Well, normally we wouldn't take any exception to this. This is bad. This is bad for everybody. And it is amazing just seeing President Logan. He's out, Jack Bauer is being arrested, but then we see the Madam President. She walks up to him along with his chief of staff, Mike Novick, and they just like give him that look. It's like, you're done, buddy. You are not my husband. You are not a president anymore. And I just love the staging. We get all these other good bit part actors, but I love how they just walk up and they get the call, and the actor's eyes playing the actor playing the Secret Service guy, like you see his face light up, is like, okay, like he motions, and just the way it is so done, and like it just like, damn, that is badass. This episode is co-written by co-creator Robert Cochran, and just so appropriate because he used to be studied law, so it's so awesome seeing him put that to the test, his knowledge. And just the music is great, and just the way it just shows, it's kind of a cynical take on like a presidential theme, just like just showing you, hey, this disgraced asshole is going to finally serve some time after all the Russian terrorists he was working with, after all the other evil companies he was willing to have people poison for his own gain. And it's just so wild too, because former President David Palmer, who he was involved with, he's supposed to be given an eulogy, and they're just like, And it's like, okay, you gave the eulogy. Now we're marching your ass out of here. Don't make a scene. And I just love how that Secret Service guys, they just come in. They're just like, we can lead you in handcuffs or we can escort you away. Whatever you would prefer to see yourself as, on the 6 o'clock news. And of course, who can forget the moment where, Jack is sharing a moment with Audrey, only to then, he sees her missing. It's just someone fakes her voice. He meets up at a phone booth. He's like, whoa, 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 where were you? Where is she? And then, of course, that just gives him time for Chang's men to kidnap him and be like, buddy, we are going to torture you all off screen for next season. What a way to end the season. Even if you don't like the season that came after, that was great stuff. So, season 6, it's a divisive season. I understand there's lots to like, there's lots not to like, but I'm going to go with the finale. The finale kicks serious ass after all the double crosses, after all the mayhem. Manny Koto, David Fury, Robert Cochran, right? Solid screenplay. Brad Turner, who was the second main director on the show, gets some good, well lit scenes. Jack rescues his nephew Josh from his evil dad and the Chinese villains. We get to see Chang get his comeuppance until next time. And then Chloe O'Brien recovers from her after fainting last episode. And the White House resolves the potential war with Russia. But the main issue that makes the episode great is Jack asked for and is refused forgiveness by his former boss, James Heller, who's like, you can see Audrey, who's, recovering from her injuries one more time. She's in a coma. But after this, I want you out of here. And Jack is like, dude, what do you want from me? I did everything. I never intended for her to be hurt. And just again, the show is always so good with just having people reflect on their life. The quiet moments are just as great as all the action. And just good stuff. While Bill is basically screwed over by the federal government. They're like, "You're going to be our scapegoat. We're going to have to close down CTU after this, and you're going to be first one to be fired." And it's like, man, all that setup. But let's then go to Redemption, a 2-hour uh, season opener for season 7. And man, it just kicks so much ass. I prefer the extended version because there's more character development. He meets up with Jack, basically runs away to South Africa, gets out of the country, wants to avoid being arrested because everybody's being made example for all the legal stuff they've been doing with this government. And he's just like, no, done. And of course, Jack Bauer doesn't find violence. Violence finds Jack Bauer. He's healing. And it's great that he's working with his former Delta Force buddy, Carl. And again, Robert Carl, you've seen him in everything. Full Monty, 28 Weeks Later, Train Spotting, one of the best James Bond villains in World Is Not Enough. Say what you want about the movie. And he's great here. It's so awesome seeing him do some action, and it's just plenty of great gunplay. This is where basically the whole cover up. This is like, it's a primer for season 7, but man, just I love it even more on rewatches. Just cool seeing John Voight come in with his Blackwater, type company. It's just as well shot as like a Bourne Identity movie where just all the assassins have personas as they're going to intend to kill just the president-elect Taylor. It's cool seeing her get sworn in, but at the end, but like we're getting all this other foul play. It's like, we are going to kill the president's son. We're going to make it look like an accident. And of course, we don't see the awful murder, but it's like the two guys playing the despicable assassins are great because, like, man, I hated you the minute you were on screen. You were just wait till the upcoming season for this to all be resolved. But they do a good job having that be in the background. The main reason to watch those, all the great Die Hard in a school type stuff. Jack has to save all the kids. The kids are not annoying. They're all great unknowns. And it's just phenomenal photography, great suspense, really. And if you love movies like Tears of the Sun and Blood Diamond, it is just as good as that kind of material. Like, it just kicks absolute ass. And again, you just can't take your eyes off the screen, and it's just cool because Jack Bauer is like, I still have something to learn for. I can help those in need. It avoids being the straight up white savior by just also just like, hey, and Jack is like, I will turn myself in if you let me escort these guys, out of the country. It's like, this is bad because they're going to get slaughtered by all these other people. It's like, I want to at least save the kids. And it's just, it got me back into this show. But man, it is, again, just so visceral. And it's also awesome seeing Jack have to stitch himself up, much like Rambo, and great stuff. But let's jump straight up to episode 3 of season 7. So, well directed by Brad Turner, written by Manny Coto and Brandon Braga. It's cool seeing more of the Star Trek writers get in on this. And yeah, this is awesome. Jack basically is like, after all this back and forth, he finds out, whoa, okay, Tony is really not who he seems. He's actually working undercover, trying to infiltrate the terrorists. And Tony's like, you will find out more. Break me out of this FBI building. And that's awesome. Seeing him do the car escape. This is where it definitely is like their take on what you saw in Born Identity, we're going to do on primetime TV and just as cool. And yeah, there's other cool stuff. They find out leaks on the moles in the agency, and uh, Colonel Debaku does his various terrorist threats on President Taylor, insisting the U.S. withdraw forces from the fictional country of Sangala, or they'll attack them and make the copters collide. Again, dynamite stuff. Came out in January 2009, but man, it was something else. You've never seen anything like this on primetime TV. Good stuff. So then let's go to season 7, episode 13. So tension is escalating as Jack continues his relentless pursuit of the terrorist group, spearheaded by Jonas Hodges, and Debaku's diabolical plans intensify, and the First Lady must stand her ground. Jack takes control when a terror threat builds momentum, but man, it's dynamite episode. And it's just so cool seeing it just, again, like the show is just on fire. Is like, we are gonna just go nonstop and just show you what we're talking about. Like we are not backing down from any kind of fight showing on screen. And I think also what stands out about it more or less is just seeing, again, just the stakes are appropriately raised, but at this point, like, Juma has taken, yeah, Tony Todd, his main bad guy, his African warlord. It rivals Arno Vaz's Marwan from season 4. But after seeing, again, you know, Jack Bauer got the president safe, like, this picks right up. You do not have to see the previous episode. Bill gets to do a heroic sacrifice, and again, it's Die Hard in the White House. And it's just, it keeps the tension up. And yeah, and it just keeps you on the edge of your seat even after all the violence has happened. Great stuff. Now let's jump ahead to season 7, episode 18. So, yes, uh, Jack reunites with his annoying daughter Kim, but it's actually very well acted. And Jack's, been poisoned. He thinks he's going to die. Spoiler, he does not die. But this whole rest of the season, we think he will. And President Taylor meets with Jonas Hodges to discuss his plans to become more involved in national security. And of course, they're going to play him for a loop because he's a bad guy, and bad guys don't get away on this show. The main reason I put this on here is because my dude, Tony, gets to infiltrate the evil company sponsoring terrorism, Starkwood, and run away from explosions. And of course, there's a shocking plot twist after that. That'll make you go, no, no, no. And the whole time you're like, okay, if Tony doesn't get out here in time, an airstrike's going to be launched at this. And seeing how this episode was made with actual model work, no wonder it's fucking exciting. Now let's jump ahead to the season 7 finale. That, again, gets me on the edge of the seat. The main bad guy is exposed, but you're mainly going to remember it because of all the FBI and Jack, stopping the terrorist exchange. Tony gets his revenge until he's stopped from killing the main bad guy. And I would have left it here, honestly. I would have ended it right here. Jack almost dies. He doesn't. But lo and behold, what a explosive way to end the season. The president must force Secret Service to arrest her daughter, who did some other illegal activity, while avenging her other unethical first man. Now let's jump ahead. Season 9, when he's in London. Okay, great stuff. Basically, Jack gets to do a rooftop battle in this episode. But I love this mainly just because it plays you for a fool. Not only do they fake out the terrorists, Jack fakes out us. We think the whole time, oh no, the president is going to have to be killed. No. It's like, nope, psych. And play along with this. Like, we're going to play back the footage and make it look like he gets blown up by one of the drones. And it was like, but man, the other main stuff where Jack and Kate are having to drive around like bats out of hell. And it was like, good stuff. Then we go to the season 9 finale. Season 9, episode 12. Jack finally gets revenge, slaughters all the Chinese terrorists, and decapitates Chang. He gets even more. The reason for this is mainly is like we thought he was just going to kill the bad guys. Is like, then he finds out. He gets that call. Is like, and Kate calls him, no, Audrey's dead. And Jack is like, okay, I'm going to yell and I have nothing to live for. I'm going to slaughter every motherfucker here. And it is phenomenal bloodshed. You are pumped. It doesn't matter how cliche it is. You have every right to cry and then be like, oh, fucking, let's do this. Let's see him just slaughter everybody. Great choreography, great music, great tension. And then even more heartbreaking, seeing Jack have to give himself up. They capture Chloe. He's like, I will give myself up to the Russians if you let my friend go. And it's like, so touching, seeing them, again, shake hands for the last time. Of course, the silent clock is used, which often means someone has been killed. Is like, this better not be the last time. For now, though, it is. And those are the 24 best episodes of the TV show 24. I know, redundantly titled that way, but someone had to do it. I've been meaning to do more of these TV show rankings, like what are the best seasons of a show that's long running, and in this case, it's like I had to give you the phenomenal must-see episodes, the ones which will make your jaw drop, which will make you go, even if you see a clip, that's just phenomenal scripting, great stunt choreography, great political arguments, rewarding drama. And what makes this always just a phenomenal, brutal engagement every time it's on. So thank you all for listening, and enjoy the rest of the week where we're going to explore more on this beloved TV show. Take care.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win. On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win Show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up